HUD and AMS signage. The sign-in sheets that are part of the HPIR form that everybody was sent includes these two documents that you see on the screen. The left is going to be the sign-in sheet. That should be placed in the property each time you visit the property for the first time. It should be placed on either a kitchen cabinet or a kitchen counter. That way, when anybody goes to that property, you, another inspector, a real estate professional, a HUD inspector, an AMS crew, an AMS quality control team, they can sign in and make sure that they document when they entered that property. Also, and I'll be touching on routine services later on in the webinar this evening, if you're doing routine services, you want to make sure every subsequent visit to that property you're documenting on this sign-in sheet. Also, as I alluded to before, we want to make sure that after we sign this document, if we're on September 27th and we're signing our sign-in sheet, we're putting our name and who we're representative, today's date, the purpose of your visit, photograph the sign-in sheet so we can document that you were at the property. Also, on the right-hand side, we have the window sign. And this should have all the pertinent information that you can see here listed, and it should be placed on a front window, a prominent window, facing the street at which the property is addressed. So anybody should be able to go up to the front of these properties after an AMS crew or one of our contractors has been there and see, okay, this is the case number, this is the address, and this is who we contact. Winterizations, as I said before, must be completed within 24 hours. Okay, we want to make sure that we're taking photographs of every part of the winterization, including the pressure test photos. So as we hook our pressure test kit up and hook up the compressor and pressurize the water lines, we want to make sure that we're capturing a digital photograph of the actual pressure gauge of the air going into the system. We want to document that the system held the required amount of pressure, which I'll be talking about in a little bit. We also want to report any issues that we have with the plumbing system. So if we're not holding pressure, if there's damage, if the property has been gutted, if someone has taken part of the plumbing system out of their property, we want to be sure to absolutely document any of those conditions with date-stamped digital photographs. Okay, in jurisdictions where winterization is required, all properties must be winterized between October 1st and March 31st. Properties in the northern territories will be winterized and or re-winterized from September 1st till April 31st. Some of the tools and equipment you may need for winterization may be included but not limited to. We want a minimum 4 CFM air compressor. We want a 5,000 or better watt generator. We want a pressure test kit gauge, which I just mentioned. You can order those from mfssupply.com. We want a straight slot screwdriver, an adjustable wrench, channel lock pliers, toilet plunger, and of course 2 gallons of non-toxic antifreeze. And while we're talking about winterizations also, those of contractors that have been in the business for a long time know that it's a no-no to winterize a dirty toilet. So you want to make sure that these toilets are clean before we winterize them, okay? Especially if you still have running water at the property. So I just wanted to point that out as well. Safety hazards and emergency repairs, sheds and outbuildings. The inspection form site's not secured. Does the structure, when it is not in need of demolition, have a door or window that is unsecured because either missing or hardware is missing? Again, like I touched on earlier in the presentation, we want to make sure that all properties and outbuildings are secured during that 24 hours. Some of these buildings have been opened by original design. Okay, we have an example there on the left. However, a broken or missing window may need to be secured while you're at the property, or depending on the severity of damage to the property, demolition might be required. Electrical work, another thing that is looked for by the spies. Uncapped wires are to be capped. We cannot tape wires in order to satisfy the requirements for a safe entry and a safe property. So don't tape the wires. We definitely make sure that wires are capped. If the wires are uncapped upon inspection and exposed, also cite under the header exposed wires, open panels under the health and safety category. We want to also talk about that outlets must be covered with a faceplate. Exposed meters are also a hazard and may be corrected by covering with a plexiglass cover, wood, or replacement meter. Trip hazards and sharp edges. Sharp edges and tripping hazards include exposed gate hinges, multiple instances of protruding nails, loose edging on exterior siding, raised walkways, and curled rubber matting. Cracks and or uneven leveling are present instances of raised walkways, torn carpet, driveways, etc. that create an imminent danger to the safety of a person at the property. So when we're doing the HPIR, when we're looking for safety hazards, we want to be looking for all of these things. What's sticking out? What could hurt somebody? What could cause somebody to slip, trip, or fall? Those are some of the things that we need to be asking ourselves while we're inspecting each property. Broken window panes on garage doors must be reglazed. 1/4-inch plexiglass may be used on garage doors. Cracked and broken sinks also must be removed. Trip hazards and sharp edges, more about that. If you're assigned a work order to remove the carpet, remember you have to take the tack strips with you. Tack strips left behind are a hazard and they will be cited. Plywood must be installed to abate the hazard of a weak or damaged subfloor. The subfloor should be removed in doing so that when you put the plywood in, of course, you're not creating a little lip, you're creating a surface that's flush with the surrounding areas. Infestation. We want to look for wasps, bees nests, mouse and rat droppings, bird droppings. All should be cited with a yes when responding to those questions on your HPIR form. Windows and doors. Check all entrances to crawl spaces. Make sure that your crawl space entrance, shed, doors, outbuildings are secured with a HUD A389 padlock. Inspectors should lock windows prior to departure. Windows that are inoperable or not lockable due to broken or missing hardware or framing, or that are painted shut, are considered inoperable. We want to make sure that all these windows are operable before we leave. Active roof leaks and damage. Again, active roof leaks present a major issue for a property, especially the value of the property, especially the habitability of that property. All that water leaking in over the course of time will cause severe water damage on the inside of the property that could go down for 1 or 2 floors and ruin drywall, flooring, ceiling, etc. You may also be causing severe mold and mildew damage inside the properties. So when you get to the property, again, a tarp is evidence that there was or is an active roof leak or the roofing material is compromised. If there is a tarp present on the roof, the inspector should note active roof leaks evident. So I want to say that again. If you have a tarped property, and according to new HUD regs, you should not. But if you find a tarp when you get to a property, we want to note that on the HPIR as active roof leaks evident. Unless prior approval from HUD, no house is allowed to have a tarp to correct the active roof leak. Which leads right into the next section, mold and mildew. Mold and mildew can grow rapidly in vacant properties. Wipe mold or mildew with a bleach solution, then apply Kills over the stained area. We also want to find the source of mold and mildew and report to AMS representative if it's not corrected. Again, wipe the wall with bleach and apply Kills. Any property with a sump pump must have active electricity. It's another thing I definitely want to emphasize to everybody doing HPIRs. The sump pump must be able to run. So if a property has a sump pump in the basement, or if it has a sump pump on site, we want to make sure that it has active electricity. If the sump pump is malfunctioning or not operational, the mold and mildew can lead to thousands of dollars in damage and an alert. Breakers should be switched on for the sump pump. Unsecured pools. Pools should be built with a 2x6 treated wood. Cross-member beams should be spaced on 15.5 inches. 6x6 10-gauge wire mesh should be applied over that constructed frame, and the framing should overlap the pool by 10 inches. We also want to note that diving boards should be removed. Slide ladders should also be boarded to prevent someone from getting on there. Handrails. This is another common issue that HUD inspectors frequently run across and look for. Porches, balconies, and raised floor surfaces located more than 30 inches above the floor grade below, they're 30 inches high, should have guardrails not less than 36 inches in height. So if it's 30 inches above the surface below it, it's got to have guardrails that are at least 36 inches in height. Open sides of stairs with a total rise of more than 30 inches above the floor grade below shall have guardrails not less than 34 inches in height measured vertically. So 36 inches for handrails around balconies, 34 inches for stairs, and that's measured vertically off the stairs. If you find significant safety and health issues, we want to make sure that you call AMS, and we want to talk to the acquisitions department so we can address those issues immediately.